So this photo was actually taken over at the Nepali coast on the island of Kauai. It is, so for people who don't know, I did the Kalalau Trail, which is, some people say it's 11 miles, I think it's 12 miles one way, and it takes you to the kind of like a secret beach, and people backpack out there, and so that's what I did. I spent a couple nights out there, but it's a pretty strenuous hike. And but anyways, when I was getting to the very end, I kind of stumbled upon a pretty cool location where I was able to get a little higher up, and the sun was setting, the mist was coming in from the ocean. It's actually not rolling. The mist isn't actually rolling down the mountains; it's actually going up it, which is kind of an interesting thing to see. And so the light was just, it's one of those moments where you're like, wow, this is really cool. I've never seen anything like this. I feel like I'm in like Jurassic Park, Yeah, so basically to kind of create the effect that I was going for, I definitely had to underexpose the photo a little bit, just because the light was it was quite harsh in a way, because the sun was setting, and so you had those extreme highlights and shadows. But that was kind of something that I was going for. I wanted to create those layers, and I wanted those mountains to go a little bit dark, so that you can kind of see the sea mist kind of coming in, and how the light was just kind of bouncing on it, and making it glow like that. So, and as a technical aspect, I definitely had it on a tripod. I think I probably did two exposures. One just to, right about neutral, and then one a little bit underexposed. And I think I blended it a little bit in Photoshop, but honestly, I didn't change very much. Just kind of bumped up the contrast a little bit. Burned in some of the highlights, and yeah. And then for gear wise, I used the Canon 5D Mark II, and I believe it was a little while ago. I don't think it was my 16-35. I think it was actually my 24-70 2.8 lens. So, and I probably shot it at about f11. So when I choose the gear that I'm gonna work with, I don't really have a specific I don't really have specific lenses that I'm like guaranteed I'm going to bring. I definitely don't bring my 70-200, because that thing weighs a ton, and it's one of those things where I wish I would have it sometimes, but when you're backpacking, if you've ever hiked a couple days with 40 pounds on your back, you're trying to lighten the load as much as you can. So for this one, it's the Nepali coast, so it's so grand, and in a way, you definitely want your wide angle lens to try to capture it all, which you never can. So the lens, you definitely want to bring your wide angles, but at the same time, so I have a 16-35, which is a great lens for landscape photography. But sometimes, you do want to get a little bit of that zoom. And for me, I was about a mile away from the end point, so I definitely wanted to zoom in on what I was looking at. So I did have the 24-70, which actually, I actually kind of wish I had my 24-105 to get in a little closer. But for what it did, I thought it was perfect for what I needed. So, when I'm deciding lenses, and, when I'm backpacking and stuff like that, I do sometimes only just bring one lens, and usually it's my 24-70, because it is, it's pretty wide, but there are a lot of times when I wish I'd had my 16-35, but, again, less weight on your back, really. For technical shooting with this shot, you know, it was, you know, it was probably about 30 minutes before the sun was actually going to set. I shot it at f11, usually is my go-to. My shutter speed was probably, I don't know, I would say 60th of a second. You know, I just, again, I was underexposing it a little bit just so that I can kind of get those, the deeper shadows against the super bright contrast of the mist. I definitely use a tripod whenever I shoot my landscape photography, just so that because I do like to do a couple exposures just so that I'm covered and I get a little bit more dynamic range in my photos. So having the tripod definitely helps. I almost always shoot on a 2-second delay timer, or I'll actually use a thing called a cam ranger, in which I can actually operate all the controls on my camera on my phone. That way there's no movement, nothing's touching the camera whatsoever, so that I'm guaranteed that when I do my multiple exposures that they are able to layer on top of each other without any issues. For me, you know, I was talking to my fiance and I was trying to have her help me pick out the one, and I was just like, I just kind of really want a black and white, you know, and that's probably not typical for the TruLife acrylic mounting, because it is one of those mountings that, you know, you really have no glare, so whenever you get something printed in color, it really pops. But for this one, you know, I went black and white, and you know, I honestly, I love the way it looks because there's really no glare. When you're looking at the photo, it just, you know, it almost kind of jumps off the print. So it kind of, you really feel that that dimension in the picture.